So gather around, little children. I have a very, it's a sort of the Grimm's things, fairy tales with the Grimms, and they were a little bit disturbing for the children, but they taught good lessons. But we have a tale, it's like a Grimm's fairy tale, but it's not a fairy tale, it actually happened. It was a very strange thing that happened. This man, he had a dog, a very handsome dog, and he would run this dog on a golf course near his house. He had his own golf cart. He would pull his golf cart out of his garage down his beautiful driveway, down into a beautiful road. They had a wonderful road. They paid very high taxes. They had an extreme amount of taxation, but they had beautiful roads and driveways, and everything was pristine and perfect. And he would just go down the road, and then he would jump on the sidewalk on the corner, and he would go down, and he would go in the back entrance to the golf course, and he would run his dog. And his dog was a very handsome, he was a sprinting dog. He would sprint on the fairways, and he would take videos with his camera of the dog running. And he got thousands of views. It was quite amazing. Everybody was quite impressed with the dog. He was a handsome dog. He was a very, very handsome dog. And he was like had some greyhound, perhaps, or he had something in him as a herder. He was a herder from a different place. It was a European kind of a svelte running dog for the hills. He loved to run the hills. But so the dog, and he'd be out there. Sometimes in the mornings, the man would be driving early before he would go to work, and the dog would race after rabbits. And the man would yell, "Don't kill the rabbit! Who wants to have a rabbit get killed? You know, who wants to see a rabbit? They squeal. It's a horrible thing. A rabbit dying is a very tragic and horrible thing." But the dog, he would run after the rabbit. And it was dawn, it was dusk. He hunted by sight, and he would race after the rabbit. And the rabbit was sprinting at the edge of the woods of the fairway. The dog would yelp with madness because he wanted to bite the rabbit in the hind end. He wanted to bite them and probably eat them or shake them up or kill him and rattle him and shake him and kill him and perhaps eat them. Perhaps his hind end was the most haunchy, meatish things that the dog could rip into. But he yelped like he was almost in pain. And then the man would drive a little farther up the cart path down towards the next green, and all the oak trees and all the squirrels and all the rabbits at dawn that didn't expect to see the dog, and he would race after the next rabbit, and the rabbit would sprint and dodge, and the dog would yelp just as he was about to, because the man would yell, don't you kill that rabbit. Who wants to see a dead rabbit on the ground? Who wants to hear a rabbit squeal and die and call out for pity and call out for some angel to save it? And then nothing's forthcoming, and they shake the rabbit, and they break his spine, and they snap his neck, and it's a horrible thing. It's a quick death once they shake him and they snap his neck, but he squeals and he cries out. And so the man was telling the dog, don't, who wants to see a dead rabbit? And the gut says, disgusting. Until the crows and the vultures come, it's a disgusting entrails laying there, disgusting heads, and it's a horrible thing. The paws, nothing eats the paws, and finally something comes and eats all the paws and everything, and the tail, everybody, the hide, the hairs, everything, and the hairs blow away in the wind. But the dog on a third rabbit one morning, he got up to the rabbit and he caught the rabbit, and the man said, this is inexcusable, and he raced to try to save the rabbit, and the dog was just about to shake the rabbit, and the man knew the dog would do a vicious shake and snap the rabbit's synapses in his spinal column and right at the base of his neck and put him to sleep immediately. But the man dove like some kind of a football player or rugby player, and he dove into the shake, and this rabbit smacked his head and he smacked them. They were both knocked unconscious. The dog didn't know what to do. The dog went back to the golf cart. The dog went and got back on the golf cart, and the man woke up and he looked down and there was the rabbit, and he took the rabbit and he vowed to save the rabbit. And he smacked the dog, but the dog stayed on the floor, and the rabbit laid on the seat beside him, and he drove back down the cart path, and he crossed a beautiful bridge that they had in there for just the carts, just for the golf carts, and he got back on the road, and he swung back around the corner, and he zipped down the sidewalk, and then he got back on his road, and then he got to masterful, immaculate driveway. It's a driveway as if it was a thoroughfare, an exit ramp until Utopia or the Yellow Brick Road, or some far-fetched theme of immaculate, flawless masonry, flawless concrete work, inlaid brick, the very best, finest brick of good quality masons from different distant lands, and they paid them very well. But he pulled into his beautiful, he snapped his fingers, and his two giant, big, long, wide, for two giant cars, two big trucks could pull in side by side into his massive, giant, single garage door. It creaked under its own weight, as if it was some kind of a pyramid entrance. And up they came, and he drove his golf cart into. It was pretty cavernous. He had a little tiny Ford over there in the corner. He didn't have a big car. He wasn't driving big cars, but he had a scooter and a bike and some other things in there. Most curious of all, he had a snowmobile, and everybody thought this was quite amazing that he had a snowmobile, and everyone was kept guessing as to what this could mean, but no one could figure it out, but because no one ever saw it snow or ever him ride a snowmobile. But started up, they never heard it. But he was very intrigued, and he was very happy, and he was moving forward with his desires to And when the man had come out of his epileptic kind of a daze, he remembered the bunny rabbit, and he scooped up the bunny, and he took it down, and he put it on his golf cart, and he had smacked the dog, and the dog got on the floorboard, and the bunny was riding in the seat, and he quickly went across a bridge, and he went down to the corner, and he got on the sidewalk, and he went up and took a left onto his street and went on the street, and then he took a hard left into his driveway, his beautiful driveway. And there was an oak tree, a beautiful oak tree, and the sidewalk is inlaid with orange brick, a subtle, extra wide, extra large brick, inlaid very handsomely by very excellent masons. And this man, he took this bunny rabbit and he put it into his freezer, and then he raced into his house, and he got into his formal attire, his business attire, and he got it's a little Ford, and he popped the trunk, and he took the bunny out of the freezer, and he put them into the trunk of his Ford, and he put the dog in the house, and he raced to the veterinary clinic. And the man was it was a front. The veterinary clinic was a front for some illicit business the man was foisting upon the community. And it was a very sad thing, and everybody, when they discovered it, they were very disappointed. But at that time, nobody knew this was what the man did. They thought he was a veterinarian, but he was a practicing veterinarian he read veterinary. Like in the old days, Matlock could read the law and become a lawyer. Well, he read the veterinary, and he became a vet. But he didn't have very many customers. But he got out his little tiny instruments, and he went to work on the rabbit, and he saved the rabbit, but the rabbit went into a coma. And although he had saved the rabbit with his little tiny instruments and his delicate operational skills, like playing the thing with the operation game, he never set off a buzzer. He put little bones back in place. He sutured away at the bleeders, and they made the rabbit whole again. But the rabbit went to a coma, and the man kept the rabbit alive. He didn't feed him too much because he didn't want too much crap to clean up, but he had some IVs, and every once in a while he would cut up a carrot and put it under the rabbit's nose. And the rabbit, he went about 10 or 11 months or something like this, and then the rabbit woke up, and the rabbit became the man's pet, and the man and the rabbit became bosom buddies. And the dog, who originally attacked the rabbit, he became a best friend among the three, and the three would go romping around the golf course and driving hither and yon, and they had a wonderful time. And one day the man decided he was going to golf on the golf course, and he took the rabbit and the dog. He snuck the rabbit in the golf bag because everyone thought it would be weird if he had a rabbit, but he said to pay an extra $10 for the dog to sit on the seat beside him. And he went out and he got to hole 3, drove straight out to hole 3, and then he released the rabbit. And the rabbit and the man and the dog, they played a little bit of golf. And there was a long par 3 up a hill. It was a very hard hit, but there was no one around. So the man, he let the rabbit and the dog watch him golf, and he hit the thing, and they went up there, and he said, "I wish you could golf." to the rabbit and the dog meandered off into the, up until the other areas. But the rabbit said, I wish I could golf. And the man was thunderstruck. And he said, what? What did you say to the rabbit? And the man said, the rabbit, he said, well, I wish I could golf, but I have little weird rabbit paws, and it's not too good to try to hold a golf club. And my body is too close to the ground. If I tried, I couldn't even elevate the end of it. If they designed rabbit golf clubs, perhaps I would enjoy playing golf. But hopping around this fairway looking for a weed to eat is a very, very fun thing for me to do. And the man said, are you talking to me, little rabbit? And the rabbit said, well, yeah, I'm talking to you. And this was several years after they began golfing. They golfed for 2 or 3 years. The rabbit came out of the coma after 11 or 12 months, and then it was like another 36 months that the rabbit, he never spoke, but they would go golfing sometimes, and they would have a very bosom buddy. They had a very good life together, the rabbit, the man, and the dog. But this was about the 4th year of their relationship, where the man had bionically rebuilt the rabbit and saved him, and the rabbit had gone to a deep coma. And when he came out of the coma, the rabbit realized he knew English. He could, but he said he's like a baby. He doesn't want to go goo goo gaga because you knew it would take a few years. Plus, he's a rabbit, and he stressed the fact that he's not even as smart as a baby. He's only as smart as a pretty smart rabbit, which is not even as smart as a baby. So he said, I cannot do baby talk for too many years. So I would learn slowly and practice by myself, and I would not reveal the fact I could talk because it would take so many years. And about the 4th year, about the 3rd and a half year, he started to talk, and on the 4th year, he could talk pretty good. Well, he had it was an epileptical shift forward in his conversational skills, his abilities. But the rabbit, he said to the man, so I hid the fact from you that I could talk because I knew I would only jibber jabber like a silly baby because I'm only as smart as a rabbit. I'm not even as smart as a baby. So it'd be hard. So 4 years in or whatever. So now I can talk a little bit. And I'm revealing to you I could talk. And the man saw a rainbow, and he saw a pot of gold, and he saw stars and fireworks. He saw his own life blossoming, bursting forward in front of him with great magnificence, and he knew he had a prized possession, a talking rabbit, and he could become a multi-billionaire with a rabbit who could talk. And the rabbit, he could see this in his rabbit intelligence. He could see the man was overplaying his hand, and the rabbit said, but you must remember, my friend, I am really only as smart as a rabbit. And I'm not as smart as a man. I perhaps am as smart as a really dingbat, a douche, a goofball, maybe, a dipshit. Maybe I'm as smart as a dipshit man. And that, I'm only as smart as a good smart rabbit or a dipshit man. So remember, even though I can talk, you might not be able to make the billions of dollars because I am a dipshit. And, my friend, I don't have enough brain power to surmise this, but I'm getting my intuition, my instinct is telling me you are an even bigger a dipshit than me. And this is not good. 2 dipshits aren't going to go far in the world. You have to have somebody who's a little bit smarter. A dipshit and a rabbit who's only as smart as a smart rabbit. This is not going to. You have to remember, we're not going to be picking stocks here. We're not going to be, we're not going to be entrepreneurs or venture capitalists. We don't know what's going on around us, We could attend or clean bubblegum machines. Perhaps we could do bubblegum dispensing machines. We could clean them and lubricate them and make sure they were safe. We could give them some coronavirus treatment capabilities. We would, proof them for the coronavirus possibilities so the children could get the gumballs. Perhaps this is what we could do. But I don't think we're picking venture capitalistic opportunities with venture capitalism and stock markets and these other things in the commodities. I don't think we're going to know what the price of gold is compared to the dollar or the euro. I don't think this is happening. I'm only as smart as a smart rabbit. And that's not too very smart. Never overestimate. It's like at best a dipshit man. So a dipshit man and a rabbit. This is perhaps we will do good, perhaps we will not do good. Perhaps you mistakenly cook me and eat me. And who knows? This could happen because I know you eat rabbit. I saw you eat rabbit a couple times. You harvested and cleaned and ate a rabbit, and one time I saw you get the rabbit fricassee or some whatever they call it, the rabbit fricassee of some nature. But but it came down to the rabbit. He revealed himself to the man that day on that par 3 green, and the man, he walked off in dumbfounded, thinking he would become a billionaire. But the rabbit was trying to cool. The rabbit was trying to cool it down because he did not believe. The man understood. He was just really only as smart as a rabbit, and the man was a genius. He was not the sharpest knife in the steak drawer, but but they walked off, and the man and the dog got on the cart, and the dog was very quiet. He felt as if there's some cosmic shift was upon them. Some forces, some great winds, something blowing, something. The dog sniffed the air. The dog, he was wondering, and he wondered why the man was in a daze, and the man didn't know where he was, and the man kept babbling on. And in his dreams, a fat old man came up to him and said, "My friend," here, and he handed him the keys to a luxurious car, and there was a beautiful, voluptuous woman. And as he sauntered down the path to get into the car with his chauffeur driven away situation, a man came up to him and said, "You did a good job today," and he reached him a big fat wad of bills. And the man, he enjoyed the wad of bills. He said, "This is a thick, good wad of bills, and you got me. Whatever it is we're doing here, if I get this giant wads of bills, I'm coming back." And this was how it ended. But deep down, even though the man was not conscious at the time, he understood he had a talking rabbit. Even as he tucked the rabbit back into his golf bag for the drive back to his car, and the dog didn't know really what was going on at this point, and the man tucked his finger into the dog's collar to hold him in place in the cart seat beside him. As he drove back, he hit the bumps a little less egregiously. He hit the bumps a little less vigorously because he knew he had a talking rabbit bouncing around back there in his golf bag. Back with his golf balls, his Nikes, and his Titleist, and his bag of teas, he had a talking hare in his golf bag.